I remember first starting to do some research about the long-term effects of being raised by a narcissistic parent, and I came across C-PTSD. And I had heard of PTSD before, and I had always just associated that mainly with people who were in the army, who were in some sort of battle or traumatic event where things were really sort of explosive and volatile and violent, and then kind of coming back into the normal world and not being able to function normally because they're still really on high alert. And, coming from someone who didn't even know that a lot of the behavior that I was exposed to throughout my childhood was emotionally abusive or manipulative, I didn't know that there was such a thing as emotional trauma. To then start to do a little bit of research about it and to see something that I in the past had previously associated with something so incredibly intense, I was kind of shocked and I didn't entirely make the connection. But I remember one day thinking about it and it just kind of clicked for me as I was talking it out. And I remember thinking that for so much of my childhood, it felt like things were kind of, they might explode at any minute. And I think that's what a lot of people talk about when they're dealing with a narcissistic parent or a partner, feeling like they have to walk on eggshells around that person, because you never want to say or do anything to upset them. Because once you're on the receiving end of any kind of narcissistic rage, it's such an awful feeling that you'll do anything to avoid that. Especially, I think, when you're dealing with a parent-child dynamic, because as a kid, you just want to make your parents happy. And I think it's really easy when you're younger and you don't have perspective or experience with other relationships, healthy relationships with other people, maybe, to just kind of fall into the pattern of behavior that your parent wants you to, no matter how toxic that is, and you don't necessarily realize that that's toxic. So now maybe you've got a narcissistic, a really controlling, sort of emotionally immature parent who's easily triggered, who needs emotional comfort and reassurance from you. You kind of feel, even though you're the kid, like the more emotionally mature person in that relationship, in that dynamic. And so you take on a lot of that burden, and you are hyper aware, hyper vigilant of everything that's going on, not only your own words and behavior, but also anyone else's words or behavior who's around that person. And you're observing what's going on, slight little changes in tone or mood. Is this person going to say something that's going to upset my parent that then is going to trigger this really negative reaction, right? What can I do? And I think the PTSD or the C-PTSD that adult children of narcissists kind of grapple with is just a result of existing in such a state of high alert for such an extended period of time, where you really never feel like you have a solid footing or steady ground beneath you. It's like everything and anything is susceptible to just exploding and crumbling at any given minute. And there's really nothing that you can do to stop that, besides try your best to eliminate the possibility of anything negative crossing paths with your parent. And that's just impossible, because you can't control everything that goes on in your own life, never mind the life of another person. I think you're bound to encounter certain stressful or frustrating situations throughout life, especially as an adult. And it's an adult's responsibility to be able to regulate their own emotions and to not explode and take that out and project that onto other people. And yet, I think a lot of times for children of narcissists, they are in the crosshairs. They're sort of in the line of fire. And so they are enduring a lot of that toxicity and that negative behavior, which is just, it's awful. And so I think it kind of comes from just existing in such a constant state of fear for so long that it's really hard to let go of that. It's hard to just feel like something negative, this big argument or disagreement or explosion, is not right around the corner. Because for so long when you were younger, that's the mentality that you had to have to best survive. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, be sure to give it a like and subscribe to my channel. You know, I am not a professional. I don't claim to be one, but a therapist once told me that I am an expert in my own experience. And I want to speak about these topics candidly so that anyone who has experienced or is currently experiencing something like it knows a little bit more about what to expect, how to respond, and that you're not alone.